Identifying birds is one of the most fun things on the planet because all of a sudden, the wildlife around your house goes from a few things like a robin, oh, that's a chickadee, to hundreds of different species. In this video, I'm going to show you how to ID birds, but also a whole bunch of helpful tools so you don't have to start from just square zero. This video is going to feature a whole bunch of free options to help you identify birds, but also some paid ones to take it to the next level. So let's dive in. First, let's talk about the main steps of identifying a bird. A lot of people get this wrong, and it's important just to know the few things that you want to write down before you try and go ask your friend, what bird is this? The first thing you want to focus on are the main colors. Now, you don't have to remember every single color on the bird, but maybe just the two that are most prevalent. If the bird is mostly gray, for example, remember that gray color. If the bird is gray and orange, and you're looking at an American robin, that's super helpful to being able to identify the bird. So first step, identify the main colors on the bird. Second step, you want to take down its behavior. What is it currently doing? You don't need to be super detailed about this. You can if you want to, but if you don't have time, just write down what exactly it's doing. Is it hopping around on the ground? Is it at a bird feeder? Is it perched up on a telephone wire? All of these things will help to narrow down the pool of birds because not every bird behaves exactly the same. The third thing you want to note down is its perceived size. Now, this is actually really difficult because size is a terrible indicator in the field. A lot of times we think things that we are looking at are much bigger than they actually are or much smaller. So take this one with a grain of salt and give yourself a little bit of leeway. But what you want to try to do is it a very tiny bird like a sparrow? Is it a robin size, so a little bit bigger? Is it a crow or raven size, so kind of those medium-sized birds? Or is it bigger than a goose or as big as a goose, for example? Those are kind of the main indicators of size that you want to focus on. But again, you could easily get these wrong, and I see people get it wrong all the time. The last thing you want to note down is your location. This is probably the most important indicator of narrowing down what bird you are looking at. All birds pretty much around the world are locked to regions. Now, there's some birds that are found just absolutely everywhere, but for the most part, location is going to be a very helpful indicator in helping you determine what species you are looking at based off of its range. So just to recap, main colors, behavior, perceived size, and location. Now that we have those basics out of the way, let's talk about the first tool that is helpful in identifying birds, and that's your traditional field guide. Now, your traditional field guide is a book, right? So I have the Sibley Guide to Western Birds of North America. This is a much older edition. It's still going to do fine. If you have older editions of bird field guides, it's not that big of a deal. You can update it and you'll get more relevant taxonomic information. But if you go Google the species and its name has changed or it's been split into two separate species, you can find all of that online. I personally recommend Sibley, as you can see, but I also have Peterson field guides. I have a National Geographic field guide, and all of them have their pros and cons. My personal favorite, like I mentioned, is Sibley. I just really love some of these detailed illustrations that come with the Sibley field guides. Now, the other books like Peterson and National Geographic also have amazing illustrations, and some people definitely prefer those over others. I just prefer to have all of them. The hard thing about field guides is that a lot of this is based off of a base knowledge about birds. So some field guides are a lot more basic and they'll divide birds up by primary color, for example. But in Sibley, you kind of have to know what family the bird you were looking at resides in. So if you see a bird and you're like, oh, that looks like a hawk, that can be very helpful unless the bird is a falcon. And then you might be a few pages away from finding the actual species that you're looking for. Another type of field guide that you can get is a family-specific field guide. So for example, I have the Gull Guide, right? And this is by Amar Ayash. It's absolutely incredible. It breaks down a lot of these different gull species. And now some field guides have pictures instead of illustrations. I won't speak for everyone, but for me, I do prefer illustrations. But for something like the Gull Guide, it's not that big of a deal because you're going to want to have that real world help when you're trying to ID birds. Now, this book is a lot more just like read it like a chapter book. There's a ton of information. It goes way beyond your normal field guide. So you can get a bird specific field guide. I know they have some for shorebirds and warblers and finches and other things like that. This is another option. Now, I have a ton of field guides at home. And in fact, I've been collecting field guides since I was a kid. I'll even go to thrift stores and find some vintage field guides whenever I can. The problem with field guides is that today, they are no longer the most compact source of bird identification that you can possibly find. They're still really, really good, and I love reading them at home, but I rarely take them out in the field just because they're heavier and more bulky, and I don't like my books to get ruined. I'm going to talk about some alternatives to field guides in just a minute, but let's jump into the next most basic form of a tool that you need for identifying birds. And that most basic form of a tool is binoculars. 8 or 10 times 42 binoculars are the recommended for the most stable view of the bird, with still enough magnification to get you those details. But higher magnification binoculars still work. Just recognize that if you have shaky hands, even stable hands, that view is going to be a little bit more shaky. Lower magnification can also be helpful, but for the most part, those are mostly used for backyard birding scenarios because you're not going to get the reach that you need to identify birds. Now, binoculars are important because they help you see details. They allow for bolder colors and patterns and a clearer idea of field marks. I go birding quite frequently without binoculars, and after doing this for years, you'd be surprised at how many birds I struggle to identify when I can't take in those details and I don't have my binoculars. Some birders are incredible with this, especially when the bird is singing. There's some extra hints that you can go off of, but binoculars really help take you to the next level, and it's a great way to appreciate nature a lot more. Some of those subtler details are lost when we just view things with our bare eyes. Now, another thing you can do is you can take this even further with a scope. This is not necessary to identify birds. For dedicated lifetime birders, this is something I would recommend. They're pretty expensive, so if you plan on birding for forever, I definitely think you should try to invest in a scope. I personally still don't have a scope, and I constantly find myself, especially when I'm out at Antelope Island, for example, trying to ID shorebirds or ducks way out in the distance. My binoculars just don't have the same reach as a scope has. It would be very, very helpful as a tool, but again, it's not something that's necessary. All right, and next I just want to talk about cameras. Cameras can be a great way to identify birds. The camera that I recommend for beginner birders or people that just want to dabble in photography is the Nikon Coolpix series. It's what I started the channel on. The quality isn't phenomenal like the Nikon Z6 III that I currently have, but it still takes identifiable pictures, it takes good video, and there's a whole bunch of different options. You go from the Nikon Coolpix P900 like I had, and I think they're up to the P1050 now, if I have that correct. The quality just keeps getting better, and they have this thing called super zoom. It isn't the best quality the further you zoom out, but you can get out pretty dang far. And in some cases, that super zoom acts as a replacement for something like a scope. So definitely great for beginners and good for identification. The only thing I want to mention is you don't want to let this overtake your binoculars. And I only say this because sometimes I see people get in the habit of going out and saying, I have my camera, and just snapping pictures of birds and then taking that home and IDing those birds. That's not a problem, but it can become a problem because you might rely on your camera more like a crutch than just IDing the birds and building your skills. So if that's something you're worried about, it could be a bad habit to pick up. But again, we all do it. We all take pictures of a bird and say, I'm going to send this to friends and see if they have a second opinion, or I'm going to post it on a Facebook group, for example, and it's not the end of the world. The last tool I want to get into before getting into some of these apps that you may not have heard of is a bird feeder. Feeding birds is an amazing way to practice IDing birds that are close to your home. Sometimes when you're out in the field and in the wild, birds are very far out in the distance, but with a bird feeder, they come in really, really close to you. Now, smart bird feeders take this to the next level because they capture media for you to review later. We can't always be sitting at our bird feeders. I do love watching the birds live, but it's fun having a smart bird feeder and scrolling through the birds that visited. So if something interesting shows up, I can try to be there for it live the next morning. I'll put an affiliate link in the description for a 10% discount on BirdFeed smart bird feeders if you're interested in something like that. All right, now let's get into the apps. The first app I want to talk about is a paid app, but it's a one-time purchase for a lifetime of amazing bird content, and that's the Sibley app. Yes, the same person who makes the Sibley field guides, David Sibley, also has his own app. It's under $20, and it includes over 930 North American species with detailed illustrations, maps, and audio recordings. It also has this amazing feature in the app where you can compare two similar species side by side. I use it quite frequently, even though I have some of these other apps that I'm going to talk about, because sometimes it's really nice to have those illustrations to kind of set aside those details that photos don't always give you. Again, this is the most compact field guide because it just sits right here on your cell phone. I just realized my flashlight was on. That's funny. But yeah, it just sits right on your cell phone. You can keep it in your pocket. And one of the best things is that it works without Wi-Fi, which is amazing because half the time I don't have Wi-Fi when I'm out birding. All right, the next app I want to talk about is probably the most under the radar app of the ones on this list, and that's Larkwire. I've been using Larkwire with a subscription for almost a year now, and I've greatly improved my bird ID skills, especially by sound. This is a course-driven visual ID and sound ID app. It's only available at the moment for North American birds, so that's important to remember, but it puts these birds and groups these birds into similar sounding species or visually similar birds in your region to help you differentiate things out in the field. They have specific courses available for your region, and if you want all of the birds of North America, it ends up being less than $4 a month, which is well worth the price of improving your sound ID. I think the courses are absolutely incredible, and they've really helped me elevate my game in trying to ID birds. The big problem that I have is I know most of the birds' sounds, but I keep getting certain species confused. So what Larkwire does is it gives you these groupings of these birds that are very similar sounding, and then it just replays them and quizzes you until you start to break out and see the subtle differences between the calls. I think it's definitely worth it, so I'll have a link in the description below, an affiliate link if you're interested in Larkwire. Now, the next app and tool on this list is iNaturalist. This is a free app. What's amazing about iNaturalist is that it's not just birds. You can log pretty much any living thing. In fact, you can log any living thing. You can log fish, you can log plants, you can log mammals, you can log birds. The only thing that you need with iNaturalist is you either need to collect a sound recording or you need to collect a photo somehow. So that's the one downside to iNaturalist. You can do casual observations, but you're not really going to learn any ID skills that way. But what's really cool about iNaturalist is that it's a community science project. So all of this data is used for science. And they have a community review section where you can click on identify, and this is specifically on the website. The app has a few limitations with it, but you should still use that out in the field if possible. But the website has cool features. You can go click on identify and cycle through photos of birds in your area. It's great for practice. The only thing I will say though is that you want to make sure that you are pretty sure about the IDs that you're submitting because this is a science project, but don't worry about it too much. If you make a mistake like we all do, the rest of the community will definitely override you in that, and then you'll be the odd duck out on that ID. All right, the next app is possibly, in my opinion, the best tool out there, and that's Merlin ID. Again, this app is free, and it's probably the most widely known bird ID app, but also the most helpful. I'm going to give you a basic rundown of the app, but if you want a specific video catered to just Merlin ID, go check out my friend Hawk and the Lenses video. He just released a guide on that, and it's absolutely amazing. I'll link it below. But let's head out into the field and see exactly how Merlin ID works. All right, so I'm breaking out Merlin ID now. This is the first time I'm using my old GoPro, so hopefully the audio is okay. If not, I'll try to fix it in post. But let's pull up Merlin. All right, so when you pull up Merlin, it's going to look like this screen as you're seeing on screen right now. You have the three options. You can do step-by-step, which we'll do in a minute. You can do sound, or you can do a photo ID. So let's go ahead and click the sound button. Okay, took a minute. Nothing's really calling right now, but we have Canada goose up here on the screen. So essentially what Merlin ID does is it listens for, it creates a spectrogram of the sound that it's hearing. Then it matches that spectrogram based off of an algorithm of a whole bunch of bird data that's been entered in here. This model's been trained on just birds, tons and tons and tons of bird calls. And then it matches that spectrogram to its data that it has, and is able to pull out Canada goose, which was calling from over there. Once you stop your recording, you get to save your audio recording. You can upload that to eBird if you'd like to. But now let's go to step by step. So this option to the left here is step by step. And let's say I want to figure out what these mallards are over here. So you first pick your location, your date, what's the size of the bird. These are the things I told you to remember, right? Size of the bird, it's about the size of a crow. It's olive green and brown and white. You can only pick 3 colors on Merlin. And then it's swimming or wading in the water. Then you click next. It's creating a list of birds. And it gives you some options, right? So first it says northern shoveler, which is not our bird, American widgeon, which is not our bird, and then mallard. It's probably expecting us to know what a mallard is, so it's prioritizing some of these lesser known birds, but it did get mallard right. And that's the only 3 options it gave us: widgeon, shoveler, which both also fit the description, and a mallard. So this just helps you narrow down your pool of birds. It's not necessarily going to give you a perfect answer for those birds. The photo feature is also nice, but you need to have a good photo of that bird to upload. So you can't just take an iPhone photo of a mallard halfway across the pond. It's not going to be able to tell what that is based off of, it's going to be super pixelated is what I'm saying. So if you have a detailed photo that you take with a camera, for example, you can use this as a back of the camera shot to ID your bird, or you can just import your photo over to your Merlin ID and it'll figure it out for you from there. Hopefully you thought that was really, really cool. If you've never heard of Merlin ID, hopefully you're downloading it right now. There's another system though that I want to mention that's extremely helpful in learning the birds around you, and that's ebird.org. Now eBird also has an app. They're both by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, so Merlin ID and eBird are both created by the same Cornell Lab of Ornithology, and they do integrate with one another. The cool thing about eBird is that the app is for logging your bird sightings, and I definitely encourage you to get outside and log the birds around you. This is community science driven as well, and you don't need a photo or sound evidence to submit observations. There is one exception to this. If the bird is extremely rare for your area, people are going to want to see some additional proof that you saw or heard the bird. But on the website, ebird.org, and especially on the desktop, under the Explore tab, there's a photo and sound quiz that you can customize to your area. You can do just sound ID, or you can do just photo ID, or a hybrid mix of both, and you can go through and you can quiz yourself. And the cool thing about this is that it's photos submitted by the community. So other users logging their bird sightings with eBird, you can upload your photos, you can upload your sound recordings, and so it gives you a wide range of identifiable birds. Sometimes you get a really horrible picture, but that's a good thing because sometimes when we're out in the field, we don't always get a perfect view of the birds that we're looking at. So it's really good for practice. Again, it's free. I highly encourage you to go try it out. And this is another great way to nail down some of the most common species in your area. If you're going somewhere on vacation, you can also set it to the area that you're going and learn the birds beforehand. So it's an amazing tool. Remember to check my affiliate link in the description below for the Larkwire app. It differs from the Merlin ID quizzes and iNaturalist by grouping some of these commonly confused bird songs into the exact same category, which helps you differentiate some of these similar sounding birds. Also, any tool that I mentioned throughout this video explicitly, I will link in the description below. Some of these will be affiliate links, and these help support the channel with no additional cost to you. Also, I want to hear from you. What are some tools that you use to help you identify birds? And what are some tips and tricks that you'd like to share with the rest of us? As always, make sure you check out Bright-Eyed Birding, my other channel where I take you on weekly adventures to find some of these amazing species out in the wild. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you all next time on Bright-Eyed Birding Learn.